fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is Tuesday. No, this is Wednesday. This is Marshall Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, August 2nd. And it's a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. Once again, this is C.A. Newry, and I shall be your host for the day as we continue our march towards Emancipation Day. Imagine that emancipation gone from yesterday, August 1st, right, which is August Monday. But we did not have any kind of formal celebration. I don't think so, Aaron. I mean, all throughout the diaspora who had enslaved Africans had a formal ceremony on Tuesday, August 1st. Mm-hmm. And I'm questioning whether that day is significant enough that we need to have formal ceremonies, or because we have a holiday following it, that substitute the importance of having a August 1st recognition.
Nothing is more important than Emancipation Day. I will argue that independence is less important than majority rule, and majority rule is less important than Emancipation Day, if we had to put them in some sort of order.
So you believe that Emancipation Day is important? I mean, when I say important to the national psyche, important to the psyche of, let me use these words, European descent and even African descent who live in the Bahamas, because it represents a freeing of a guilt or a crime of humanity, which we all must now pay tribute to and appreciate. So I'm going to use all kind of big vocabulary words.
Yeah, I mean, I think the recognition of the end of enslavement, right, or the recognition of Emancipation Day is the moment that we recognize not just the 100+ years of enslavement of Africans, but the Ma'afa, right, the system of enslavement of Africans. It's akin to, it's likened to, it's the same as the Jewish Holocaust memorial space.
Is that as important as the Jewish Holocaust? I mean,
Pause.
I gotta ask you.
The African Ma'afa is to the African and the African diaspora as the Holocaust is to the Jew and the Jewish diaspora. It's not a matter of which one is more important. It is as important. And so the same reverence that the Jewish community and the world pays to the recognition and acknowledgement of the Holocaust is the same acknowledgement and recognition that Africans and the wider world should pay to emancipation, right, and the enslavement of Africans and what emancipation means.
So what do you answer or say to people who say, let go? That's the past, man. Why y'all got to be celebrating such, commemorating such? That was not done by me. You did not experience enslavement.
Okay, so
let's
is the first thing
in the history.
Is the first thing I'd like to start with. The first thing I'd like to start with is that 2015. So it is 2023, 8 years ago. 2015 marks the last payment of reparations to slave owners.
What are you talking about, man? The kind of happened. Slavery over a long time ago.
So listen, typically reparations are paid to the aggrieved party. Like you were wronged, and so then you get the reparations. When slavery was ended in the British system, the British slave owners demanded reparations. They say, you have wronged us, right? You have taken something away from us and you must repair us. And so the British government took out a bond. They took out this massive loan to pay back the slave owners, right? And that bond wasn't finished paying off. You know, like how you pay off your mortgage and you have a big party and then you invite people to the house but say, don't touch it because I own it, the bank don't own it. You know, like don't break nothing because I own it. 2015, that year was the last payment made to pay back the bond, right, that compensated the slave owners for having to give up their slaves. 2015, that's 8 years ago, which means that if we have been paying into a taxation system, you know, like French colonies, they pay 85% of what they produce to France, and then they only get to borrow back 15% of what they put in, and the rest they have to get a loan for. Like, if we pay in like that, imagine that me, Aaron Green, a Bahamian who was an adult in 2015 and was paying taxes, if any of that money went back to the crown in any way, I was paying the debt to free my ancestors. That's how real it is. That's how close to it we still are. Mm-hmm. And so emancipation for Africans, the acknowledgement of the end of the slave trade, right, is akin to the Jewish community and the whole world recognizing the Holocaust and the end of the atrocities that occurred. And see, here's the broader thing. Those atrocities in the Holocaust didn't just occur to Jewish people. It didn't start with Jewish people. It started with Africans.
Again. Mm-hmm.
And then disabled people and homosexuals and people who were different. And at the end of it, right, when everybody realized the water is boiling, and not to be cruel, when we realized the water was boiling, it was too late. And the Jewish community was practically destroyed. What they experienced, we have our own experience, and they should not be compared, and one should not be used to trivialize the other.
I appreciate that. And this is where we pivot now, because we have the person from the Adelaide community here in the studio. And we wanted to know how, let's say Adelaide. This is Clifton community and studio, because I'm still trying to get people from Adelaide to come. Anyway, Clifton community. And Clifton has a commemoration, celebration or commemoration of African persons who were freed, who were enslaved, and the recognition of that, right? So I brought them on to, again, I have Trish Pettikin, and I have, and watch my notes go disappear again. This is when you jump in and say your name.
You want me to say it for you, madam?
Go ahead. Vernita Pratt. Vernita Pratt here, who are tour guides at the Clifton Heritage Festival. But I invited you because I wanted to know how significant is emancipation to those at Clifton, especially when you recognize that a certain segment of Bahamian society was enslaved, and their interaction between Europeans, Africans, and Lucayans. So I want to know if you're doing anything in commemoration of emancipation, and what is that? And again, remind us what is Clifton and everything like that. So we start off with Trish, because I know Trish, and she's the senior tour guide, and we'll go on to Vernita Pratt. So go ahead. Or correct me on the title now.
No,
go ahead.
tour guide. I've been upgraded now to Sales and Marketing Business Development.
There you go. That's Trish Pettikin, Sales and Marketing Business Development at Clifton Heritage Place. Go ahead.
Well, good morning once again. Good morning, Bahamas. So at Clifton this year, as you know, every year we celebrate our Emancipation Celebration. And this year we're going to do something called All Things Bahamian. Now, I know earlier we spoke about the importance of the emancipation versus the Holocaust and what it is that we do at Clifton to kind of tie all of that together, right? So the reason why emancipation is so important, especially at Clifton, is because we are one of the last standing plantations on this particular island. And while being the last standing plantation, we're the ones that were able to maintain the majority of the history that would have happened on the plantation. So as we speak about emancipation, which is the freedom of the slaves upon by the British Empire, right? We didn't speak about the free slave villages. You talk about Adelaide, we have Gambia, we have Freetown and Fox Hill, we have Bain and Grantstown. So these were already established free villages prior to the emancipation.
I'm not sure that many Bahamians understand what that means. That we had free villages where Africans were living, or former enslaved persons were living, right? And that narrative must be told. And I appreciate the people at Clifton recognizing that and telling that story of these villages. But go ahead, continue.
Well, you know, they always tell us that our history started with slavery, right? Which is not true. Now, the Bahamas was actually the leading force in the emancipation after the Amelioration Act. The Amelioration Act in 1798, if I'm correct, was established basically to start to give like some kind of payback or some type of reward or punishment for the ill treatment of the enslaved Africans. That was then taken over by the Free Slave Act in 1807, when the slave trade was abolished, not slavery. When the slave trade was abolished in 1807, that replaced the Amelioration Act of 1798. Now, during this time, it was kind of gearing towards the emancipation in the British colonies. At this time, they were trying to figure out a mediation between the plantation owners and the enslaved Africans. And the idea of this was, how do we compensate them, or how do we free these enslaved Africans without the people uprising saying, well, I pay for this. That's like they saying, oh, you can't drive gas cars no more because we ain't doing that no more. But I already bring my Japanese car from Japan. I don't have no intentions of investing in an electric vehicle. So it was kind of like that. So they was like, who can pay us? Who can pick the cotton? Who can go to the market? Who can fix the boats? Who can do all this stuff when I've already invested my money in this particular service? And then they were looking to these enslaved Africans and saying, well, technically, y'all ain't free. Technically, we're gonna teach y'all how to live without being on a plantation, which was only a way of kind of balancing between gearing up for emancipation. That Amelioration Act is really what kind of put towards, or kind of pushed towards the Amelioration Act, because then at that time, with these free slave villages being established, the British Army at that time, which were manning the seas, were then stopping the illegal slave trade, which were other persons outside of the British colonies, the French, the Dutches, the Portuguese, Spain, all of these different ships that would have been carrying enslaved Africans at that time. Whenever they were intercepted by the British forces, they would then remove what they considered these illegal cargo, which were the enslaved Africans, and they were freed into these free slave villages, Carmichael being one of them, named after Sir John Carmichael. That was another free slave village.
So let's talk about what you're doing to commemorate emancipation. What's happening at Clifton?
I can let Ms. Pratt fill you in on that one.
And bring your mic
You
closer.
have to speak directly into the mic, yes.
Okay, what happening at Clifton is, like Trish mentioned earlier, we having the All Things Bahamian Living History Festival, all right? And with that, hey, we will have more like a reenactment. We'll have persons dressed up in slave clothing. We'll have like the kneading of the bread.
Right into it.
Bread, because back then,
Hold on, y'all baking bread?
We baking real
You
bread.
have stone oven? You have rock oven?
How you mean? When I tell you we can try and make this as authentic as possible, if you have yet to see the promo video, it's actually on the Clifton Facebook page currently. And it kind of gives you an insight of what you're going to experience. So when I say we try to make this as authentic as possible, we're trying to get this as authentic as possible.
Cocoa plum jam to put on my fresh made bread out the oven made of rock.
You bring the cocoa plum, we'll make
No,
the
this is
jam.
Clifton is a cocoa plum plantation.
But go ahead. What else is happening? What is happening?
she mentioned about cocoa plum. We have cocoa plum trees there, but unfortunately, it's not ready yet. They are still in.
It's still growing. They're not full
They're
yet.
not fully ripe. Or
Yeah.
mature. But yes, and then the good thing about Clifton too, we have a refurbished building, And in that, you will have you'll see the bed, what the beds look like back then. You know, you'll have the bucket, you'll have the table.
So I could have an authentic experience that my parents gave me when they said, when I was your age, I had to walk 7 miles in the salt, hail, and tornado to get to school. Children can come in and see what kids their age lived like 200 years ago, 300 years ago.
I
Yeah.
mean, the idea of it is to have an interactive experience, right?
Nice.
So with the tour, what we try to do is exactly what it's called, living history. We're trying to bring history to life. You know, we live in a digital era where people are more visual these days. So when people tend to see it, they tend to get a better understanding. Like, for instance, we do a lot of things on a ritual basis, an annual basis throughout the year that we don't know why we do it. Remember the last time I was here, we spoke about what we do for New Year's, why we do Watchman service. And the idea that also ties into the emancipation of the Bahamas. So as our culture, as we celebrate the 50th anniversary, you know, there were a lot of different activities where there were charges to our Bahamian people to kind of dive into more Bahamian activities. And this activity would definitely kind of take you into that living history aspect of emancipation.
Go ahead.
I don't have a serious question. I just want to know the rule is you don't go in the water after October holiday until Easter Monday holiday.
Okay.
And I always used to figure it's because the water was cold. And then my mind said, but maybe there's an environmental factor, right? Like maybe that's when the sharks
Jellyfish season.
or sea lice or jellyfish season, that's what it is, eh?
Jellyfish season.
These old people had sense. They just wouldn't tell you all the secrets.
You mean the same reason why women ain't supposed to climb tree? Because it made the tree sour?
It makes that and looking at people's dress. But let's talk
That
about the
makes
date.
sense.
What is the date for your event? Which date is this?
It's Sunday, August 6th.
So this Sunday coming.
Yes.
So this Sunday, August 6th, at what time?
Okay, the thing is that admission is free.
What do you mean free?
Free mean that you can come to the park, you can
Right into the mic, right.
support the local vendors, but the living tour itself is a small fee, very affordable, $20 for adults, $10 for children, and if you have a group, then we'll also give you a discount.
So a part of our emancipation celebration and recognizing these free towns of Africans living inside the Bahamas, Clifton has a tour that you can take advantage of. And also you're going to be having vendors that you can come in and buy and support during that time. And of course you'll be explaining how Bahamians lived at a certain period of time. So that's what's happening?
Yeah, and that's where Erin could get her jam.
And that's where Erin can get her jam.
Oh, I ready. If you have the bread, it'll be jam. If I have to bring it, it could be jam.
I think there is a vendor. I think there's a vendor that's selling Bahamian jams. So I believe that you will be able to.
So what all
purchase.
kind of vendors can I expect?
Oh, so we trying to give you all things Bahamian. We talking crafts, we talking food, we talking treats, we talking a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Absolutely.
Oh, I forgot to mention the tour time. We
Yes.
have a 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 2:30, and then a 4 p.m.
All right. So you'll have the morning tours, which take a sort of lunch break, and then the afternoon tours
yes.
will continue. Now, do I need to, are there things that I cannot bring to the park? And for the tour specifically, right? Because we're going to be going into preserved ruins and preserved spaces. Like, can I bring water bottles? Do I need to bring a reusable water bottle? Should I avoid bringing plastic bottles? Should I avoid bringing glass bottle? Can I bring a cooler? I bring in 4 or 5 people with me. Can I bring a cooler with a little ice and water in it? What can I bring and what can I not bring?
Okay, so the coolers are a no. And that's
Okay.
mostly, again, because we have everything you need at Clifton. All you need to do is bring a hat, some sunscreen, and maybe a little towel. So just, to keep you cool. But other than that, we will have everything at Clifton, from cold drinks, refreshing drinks, leaded, non-leaded. We'll have food.
Should I bring I have a little bit of mobility challenge. I have a little chair that I walk with. Like I could walk with it and it's a little, like a cane almost. Do you all rent things like that there? Or if I have one, I should bring it with me?
No, unfortunately, no. We don't rent those. So the trail is a walking tour. It's not a brisk walking tour. Again, we're going to take our time moving through the area. The tour lasts up to about an hour. And then so we'll be able to comfortably make our way to the slave village and then make our way back.
Okay.
And then there's a canopied area, so it's not like we're going to be walking on the road
Right.
trying to break emancipation again.
But bring comfortable walking shoes,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
And then what is so amazing that you can actually go in a building where a slave family once lived. You
How
know, you
important
can
is that,
touch the
Erin,
walls.
to immerse yourself into a heritage of a bygone era? Right? I want to know, why is it important for a Bahamian, white or black, to go into a slave hut, to go into a big house, to see where the banana shoots, because they have banana holes. I forget what they call those holes. To see that and experience that. Why is that so important?
First and foremost, the ability to practice empathy is a bonus and a benefit to the individual that practices it, right? Personal development, professional development, it's just a bonus. But more importantly, we as individuals, right, as humans, have a duty to each other, and as citizens have a duty to the country, right, to the past, the present, and the future, a duty to be able to preserve the past, right, to understand and take care of each other in the present and to prepare for the future. These experiences allow us to understand the past and to understand our obligation to our ancestors and
Yes.
people who came before us. We do these things so we can understand the most important things to preserve.
And that's why I asked Trish in terms of marketing, Trish Pedikin, who's from the Clifton Heritage, right? A number of Bahamians haven't taken advantage to go all the way to Clifton to experience this. I know that we have a number of tourists who come and say and seek out Clifton. They hear that Clifton exists. White tourists, European tourists, American tourists who say, I need to experience what you mean that you have a remnants of a slave village, which you mean that you still have huts still there. How is that tour embraced by tourists in general?
Well, I think what the real question is what is the difference between how we appreciate our own history versus our international guests who tend to seek these things out. And I think that, again, that goes back into the history of the country itself. We only 50 years into independence, let alone less than 200 years from the actual emancipation. And with the education in the Bahamas, I guess because we so Americanized, we spend more time in American history. We know more about Martin Luther King, I Had a Dream speech than we know about the speech Sir Lyndon Pendleton gave prior to or gearing up for independence.
Absolutely.
Our history is too Americanized. Even simple when we learn about the Renaissance in primary school before learning about majority rule that happened right here in the
Hold on.
Bahamas.
And let's say it properly. The ending of apartheid,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because what majority rule represents is the ending of apartheid in the Bahamas.
Go ahead. I see you going to go in.
All right. Yes, and what I like working at Clifton is now we are introducing it to the babies, the kindergartens. And it's amazing. We have schools like Windsor, Life Key, and the other schools in the city too. And everybody are embracing the history, whether they are white, they are black. And I remember giving a tour this time because I am a tour guide, where I had two sets of persons, white and black. And then as I tell the story, when you look in the white people's face, tears running down their eyes to realize that this would happen to other person. How could another person have done it to another human being? And then you have also the Americans come there. You know, the cabins, you want to touch it. You know, I've seen person got engaged. Someone just said, could I just take one of the little stone to carry it so they could remember and, you know, their experience of the tour at Clifton. So when you look at it, Bahamians, please come out and support us, learn your history, relive it.
I have this text says, "Good morning. Could you ask your guests how can I participate in this? I have colonial costumes, knowledge of William Wiley, and how his slaves were treated differently from the other slaves in New Providence. Is there some way for someone to contact you and participate, perhaps?"
Well, I think that would definitely have to go through our managing director, Mr. Mario Scott Bannister. But it sounds like something. It sounds like a great contact for our education department, actually.
I was going to say also, please reach out to Clifton, the Bahamas Historical Society. Reach out to AMMC, Antiquities, Monuments, and Museums Corporation, because they have I think a unit where they used to do reenactments for festivals and events, and I think they're revitalizing that.
I know Clifton have reenactment. I see them in costumes.
Yes.
I can go in there and see costumes and the tour guys going through.
Like I'm saying, instead of saying like, "Hey, can I be a part of Clifton?" Say, "Hey, can you enable me or facilitate me creating a company so that I could be available to any association, development, or foundation like Clifton Heritage Foundation to be able to provide this service?"
I see we have a caller here. Let me just interact with this caller, and we'll continue our conversation. Okay, with Renita and Trish. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning, Ms. Green. Good morning, Mr. Newry, and to your guests.
Morning.
Good morning.
It sounds very good. You know, it's good for the children to watch it too. When you guys talk about local history, one person comes to mind is Christopher Davis, because in hearing him on the radio all the time, I realize how unenlightened I am, you know, like when they talk about the history of Cat Island and the various plantations, et cetera, et cetera. That is lacking, you know. But in world history, I'm kind of in-depth in that. But I don't want it to be an insult, but to your guests and to the public at large, most people would know that, you know, our history began before slavery. So we still need, I mean, the ladies, this is an impetus towards the right direction, but we still need to incorporate African history into our history, because it all interfaces, because it is all obfuscated, and history was always written by the winner, who was turned out to be a sinner. Give thanks.
And thanks very much for that. I know earlier Trish Pettican mentioned that actually that was Renita Pratt, that there is a tour. The tour is $20 for adults and $10
for children.
But I know you brought some prizes too. So I want to do that now. I'm not sure how many you brought, but I want to do that now. So we have a question there, Aaron. I see you turning up everything, Aaron. But ask your question so someone can come and win this tour.
All right, so here is our trivia question for the Clifton Heritage Emancipation Day activity tour. Again, one ticket, Newry, or two tickets?
I like group things because I like when you go there. What is this? This is one adult and two kids. So if you want your child to experience this tour, you ain't got to pay the money. You call and answer this question right now. You get in, and two kids get in with you. And this could be the Clifton Heritage National Park, and this is going to be the tour that's going to be happening this Sunday. This Sunday, August 6th, right? And that starts at what time again? Let me make sure.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock in the morning, right? And runs until when? What time?
We run until 7.
Runs till 7 p.m. at night. So I just want to make sure you know that
Listen,
Sunday could be busy.
It's
right?
awesome. One adult, two kids. That means bring your child and then bring someone for your child to talk to, because Jesus, it's the weekend. Here we go. Here is the question. The giveaway question. Since it's Clifton Heritage, we're talking about what is the scientific name of cocoa plum? One of our Bahamian favorites that you can find when in season in the area of Clifton Heritage Foundation and Park. What is the scientific name of cocoa plum?
I see the call blinking. The producer, is that a caller? Patch that call through if that's a caller. Because I want to know also Trisha and Renita, the story behind Clifton. Like the text of mentioned Wiley, but so I want you to remind us. But we have a caller here. Let's patch the caller through. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
A pleasant good morning, everybody in there and the guests.
Good morning, Sparky.
You know, it's amazing sometimes how quickly you forget. A couple of years ago, there was a group of people. Remember that they were trying to sell Clifton to some foreign investor? There was a group of people that motorcaded and had vigilance all down Bay Street at night, prayer service and everything, a group of people that the Bahamians seem to forget. And we also motorcade one Saturday, from Queen Elizabeth Sports Center all the way out to Clifton, where we toured the ground with a guy named Wiley about the Wiley Plantation. It's amazing how come we don't even hear the name mentioned about the guy who was rowing and fussing and fighting the government of the day, whoever they were, about the Wiley Plantation. And after they won that argument, they gave Clifton over to a group of people to manage it now, clean it up, walking around, so forth. But you know, there was people like us, my people in my age bracket, and before me, my mother then, who had cars, used to go down to Clifton Pier. Before they named that area George Beach and everything, we used to go down there because most of the fishermen going out for mutton fishing on mutton fish season used to leave from where Clifton, where George Beach is, to go west between the drop-off and Nassau and Andros in the ocean to catch mutton fish by Golden Key. And when we used to stay on the beach while they go out fishing, we used to ramble through the bush. And we used to see the old buildings and the graves in the graveyard of the adult people and the little graves for the children, apparently, of the slaves. And we used to ask our parents, I remember asking my parents, what those buildings were and so forth, and they didn't know. My parents didn't know about that area until we started some researching, and I forget the name of the Riley guy who brought to light that his generation, his forefathers were slaves on the Riley Plantation in Clifton. This was all before we knew about Lightfoot Key and all of that stuff. We just knew it was named Clifton Pier because the generation, the electric BEC was down there.
So let me get some insight on that from the Trish, the marketing agent. Go ahead, Trish. You have any commentary on that?
All right, morning, Sparky. Always a pleasure. So you are absolutely correct on many fronts. One, that area was actually the entire western area from Lightfoot Key all the way around to where we are now at Clifton were all grants to the Loyalists. The William Lightfoot Plantation, John Woods, Thomas Ross, and then the Louis Johnstone Plantation. After a while, it was a few acres that was acquired by the Wiley Plantation. Now, after that area was abandoned after the 1960s, you're correct. It was Vivian Wiley, who was one of the descendants from the plantation, who we still hail, and we are very appreciative to him for his knowledge and, of course, his assistance in helping us grow Clifton. But the Clifton Heritage Authority is really what controls and maintains and preserves the area of Clifton. Now, had the Clifton Heritage Authority, again, not step in, which was a charge by the Honorable Perry Christie, that area would have been turned into developments because just like the majority of the land, it was basically prepared to be sold as Crown land.
Go ahead. Because I knew the former owner.
So, yeah, I will
know the
not
former
say.
owner.
However,
Oaksfield owned the whole back in the area, and his daughter wanted to sell it because it was hers, and that's why the government bought it from her. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah, so currently what we do now is we actually do preserve that entire area, including Garland's Key. All of that area is now protected. The marine area, which is the sea area which you speak of with the mutton fish, they are now we currently have the world's largest underwater sculpture garden there, which is an awesome snorkeling site now. Because of all of that fishing that has been done over the years, we kind of overfished that area. So what we're doing now as the Clifton Heritage Authority is we're now repopulating that area with marine life such as fish, stingrays, conch, mutton fish, the snappers, you name it, we kind of growing it out there. So we do appreciate that call, and thank you so that we could actually share that knowledge with the rest of the Bahamas.
I appreciate that knowledge because I didn't know about the marine life, but I remember what the gentleman is who do the
Andret, John?
John. Yeah, John did the sculptures out there, and he's pretty good. He's pretty good. But I see we have some more callers there. Patch the caller through there, producer for me, please. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me? Caller going once. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me? No? No, caller? Okay, no problem with that. You call back.
And
But-
Siri, going back to the first caller, sorry we didn't get a chance to actually answer him when he spoke about the knowledge that he got from Christopher Davis. We're actually in the process of developing a few projects with him. I absolutely love his mind. He is a brilliant young African man. And I think he will do great things educationally as we go forward in partnership with all of our other entities like AMMC, the
Yeah.
Bahamas Historical Society. So I do think
Sankofa Flamingo is his
Oh,
organization
definitely,
here.
definitely.
And this is great. I'm glad that you linked up with these brilliant Bahamians because I have a plan, but my plan is to run my UFO tourism product straight from Clifton Heritage, buddy. You don't know if it's ghost or UFO. It's going to be an amazing product.
I see that caller's back again. Producer Patrick, caller through again. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I can hear you. I'm calling to answer the question about the scientific name for the cocoa plum.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, now, forgive my pronunciation. Christobalamus.
Chrysobalanus, yes. And the last word?
Cocoa.
Yeah, Aikako.
Okay.
So the tickets are yours. Just leave your name with the producer and your cell phone number.
Yes.
And
Okay.
we'll make sure you get the tickets. Do you have any more? Just making sure that's the... There's no, you
You
tell
have,
me.
you have
Okay,
another one to
good,
give away? Okay, good. We
brought
got another
two.
question. Producer,
Look at
please
that.
take the information from this caller before she hangs up.
Don't look at that one.
This is awesome.
We have another pair of tickets. We have adult and 2 kids. So if you want your kids to experience this
How old
great
does the kid have
tour,
to be?
4 to 10.
Sure.
4 to 11.
Because 4
11.
times 10 is 40 and I could make the cut.
you can squeeze into that.
4 to 11. 4 years old to 11 years old.
Okay.
So if you want your child to experience this cultural and heritage tour on Sunday, just a couple of days from now, August 6th, from 11 until 7, call in for this next question and answer the question. The tickets are yours. 1 adult and 2 kids. Go ahead.
Second question. What is the scientific name of Mami Sapota? What is the scientific name of Mami Sapota?
No, all my life I thought mommy was Tilly.
Shh, don't let anyone hear that. Just change
They
something.
technically in the same family. It's
No,
okay.
no, no.
They
I
have-
mean, when you look at it, not opening
Yeah.
it up, and you look at it from a distance, I always used to try to figure out what this strange looking dilly thing is.
Okay.
Yeah, these things upset me because the papaya is always like, why aren't you a mango?
Right?
Why are you a strange tasting mango? But
Mean pawpaw? Because I'm not sure what a papaya is.
Okay, the name change. Okay, our parents call it pawpaw.
That's
so
what it is.
growing up, if you're in the older age, or now I won't say older, mature age, you'll say pawpaw.
It's pawpaw.
Okay, as you grow up, the name changed to papaya.
No, man, that's pawpaw. I know pawpaw.
So
So-
now the name is papaya.
let me
But call
repeat
if
the
you get the
question.
answer. Yeah, call.
The-
Yeah.
What is the scientific name of Mami Sapota? What is the scientific name of the Mami Sapota?
And you're able to win this ticket a ticket for adult and 2 kids for Sunday, August 6th at the Clifton Heritage. What do you call the full name for the Clifton Heritage?
Clifton Heritage National Park.
Yes, and you were talking about the Wiley Plantation. I want to give a narrative of the Wiley Plantation and that area. So can you do that for me, please?
With Clifton was named by William Wiley one time ago. It used to call the Wiley's Plantation, but now he named it. I think in 18th century, he named it Clifton. All right, now Miss William Wiley played a big part of Clifton because he only had 67 slaves. And the way how he treated his slave was a little bit better than the rest of the loyalists. And at Clifton, his slaves were known as privileged slaves. Now, I don't know if you could say privilege and slave in the same sentence, but it means that they had a little bit more than others because what he did was he gave them land so they could produce and feed themselves. And then the remainder of the crops, they could have taken it to market, sold it, and they kept the funds for themselves.
Okay. No, I just wanted that narrative to make sure Bahamians understand because I grew up off Clifton. When I say grew up, my father, Jack, took me there to go fishing every week there from 6 a.m. because it took a while to drive there, from 6 a.m. in the morning, and we never leave until about 12 a.m. in the next morning, right? And where we went mutton fishing on top of that big cliff and Clifton Key. We ran through the slave house villages. We saw the graveyard. We know about Jaws Beach, right? And to know that that Clifton has created a place where Bahamians can appreciate and go and remember its history. It says wonders, so that's one to commemorate. Go ahead, Erin.
All right, so we got a text that says, please repeat the information of place and time of the event this Sunday. Also, we have a text winner for our question, but repeat the information.
Okay, it's at Southwest Clifton Heritage, and we start from 10 a.m. The first tour is 10 a.m., second tour 11 a.m., third tour 2:30, last tour 4 o'clock.
Okay, so it sounds like this could be a very interactive tour. It would last about like for 30 to an hour.
It lasts an hour. It's
hour.
and that's the idea that the specific word you hit on it was interactive.
Mm-hmm.
So again, remember we are visual people. So in order for us to kind of help to kind of drill this into your mind so you can truly understand what it is that happened on these plantations, we literally bring it to life.
Okay. I see we have another caller here. Let me let the callers come through.
We have a text winner.
We have a text winner.
We have a winner for the second set of
The
tickets.
second, okay. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me? Caller going once. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Newry, sorry I had to call back.
Go ahead.
But you know what I was saying? It's amazing how we don't write our history. Like, I admire your guest with all her background history. But just dating back a few years ago, the names of the people that motorcade and Rao and everything, but they were forgotten. We tend to keep doing that to our own people. Do you know people like Freddie Mullins Jr., yours truly, JT, visually impaired, Daniel Colton? There are many Bahamians that motorcade and went down there and walked around a whole day. People's cars stopped on the side of the road because they overheated the ride for so long. And these people were all forgotten.
Sparky, you remember them, right?
Jr.
You remember them, right, Sparky?
We don't record nothing in the
Sparky,
Bible.
you remember them, right?
There's many people who remember them too.
Okay, but this
we
is
don't record nothing.
I'm going to give you your charge one more time,
An
Sparky.
opportunity. Go ahead, Sparky.
Sparky, the idea is in your heart because you are the person who's supposed to bring it to fruition. You don't even need the tools you think you need. Your phone right now have the speech to text function. You don't have to write down the words. You just need to speak them and your phone will turn them into text. This is your role. This is your part in the story to document these things because you remember who they are. You are the person in the moment that you calling for. And we need you to start doing that work.
But we're going to take a quick commercial break right now at this point, and then we'll come and wrap up. What do you want to give the answer?
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
give the answer, then we go to commercial break, and then we'll wrap up about the information about the tour and how we commemorating Emancipation Day from Clifton and stuff like that. So go ahead with the answer.
All right, so the answer to the question for what's the scientific name of Mammy Sapota is Pouteria sapota. Pouteria, that's Pouteria sapota. And the text winner, the last 4 digits are 3897. You know who you are. I will message you at the end of the show, but you have to come to the Guardian to pick up your tickets.
Okay, and remember, it's this Sunday at 11 o'clock at Clifton Give me the right name again.
Clifton Heritage National Park. Please repeat it with me.
Clifton Heritage National Park.
You know you have to tell me that before at a time. Let's call it Clifton. I agree. Oh, Clifton. All these extra names. But let's take this commercial break right now, and we'll come back and just wrap up the end of the show.
Girl, Junior just showed me Bella Boy in his phone.
What you mean? He take picture of that good for nothing boy?
Shh. Shh, you don't want Bella hair, you say that. You know she always say that's my good child.
So what he doing in Junior phone?
Oh, he there cause the police looking for him. He on their wanted list.
Wanted persons in your phone now?
Yes, child. And when police want to find anybody quick, after something happen, they can send pictures direct to your phone. Go to Google Play or App Store and search for Crack Crime Bahamas, then pick install and it will go straight to your phone.
There is also a section on missing persons?
Yes, girl. Everybody needs to get this app so police can tell us right away when these people go missing. Just like an alert system.
Yes, it has numbers for Crime Stoppers Bahamas, so you can call and nobody knows it's you. Call directly to Miami and give the information without giving your name or anything about you. I tried it the other day, and when I hear Junior and his boys talking about where they hide those guns, I walk quick round the corner and call that number.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio AM. This is CA Newry. Of course, Aaron Green was with me, and we're talking to the folks at Clifton Heritage National Park. See, I get a name? Clifton Heritage National Park. And we're talking about independence, and not independence, emancipation. And Aaron is saying that it's one of the, if not the most significant event to happen to the Bahamas. And she gave a narrative of that too. And I was going to ask Aaron that there are some people who would say that slaves benefit from slavery. They should have been glad they were captured and imported all the way to the Bahamas and raped and killed because now they have skills.
They need to move to Florida with Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is legislating that. I mean, he's legislating it, that slavery benefited Africans and they enjoyed it. That's the part, they enjoyed it.
They enjoyed it.
To those people, I want to say two things. Do some research. Chattel slavery, right, is what operated in the transatlantic slave trade, is different from the forms of slavery that was experienced across the planet, right, in various cultures. Chattel slavery removed us from our languages, removed us from our gods, our culture, our spiritual systems. It removed us from our lands, and it removed us from each other. It took away our names. In other slave systems, you kept your name, you knew where you were from, your records were kept. In this slave system, the intention was to convince us that they created us. The intention was to separate us from everything that we knew in an attempt to convince us that they and their God created us, and they are responsible for our presence on the planet. Nothing like that had occurred before. Right? And nothing like that has occurred since, although we acknowledge that because we have not acknowledged the extent of the ma'afa, of the enslavement of Africans and its implications, that slavery persists today. Sex slavery, child slavery, economic slavery, political slavery, all of these things still exist today because we refuse to acknowledge the extent of the impact of chattel slavery, the enslavement of Africans, and the transatlantic slave trade, and the building of capital, global wealth on the backs of Africans. Because we have not acknowledged that, slavery persists today in multiple pernicious forms.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Have any of you guys, and I always ask people this throughout the Bahamas whenever I get local guests, have you ever read the Willie Lynch letter?
Parts of it, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when you read it, it literally starts out by saying, because I wrote my thesis on this actually, and it starts out by saying that if my methods are implemented correctly, this will work for, and I quote, not only hundreds, but thousands of years to come.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. This is my theory, right? And we're saying this is for educational purposes, not to incite any discomfort or hate or violence in the hearts of anyone. When Europeans descended into Africa and was introduced to the halls of knowledge, the libraries, right, the institutions of learning that documented thousands of years of knowledge, and learned people of European descent were an anomaly, were created as an anomaly out of the African human experience, they realized how easy it is for people of European descent to disappear. And they realized that they had to convince us that they created us and not the other way around. And that's why emancipation and its acknowledgement is so important.
Okay, that's Sunday, August 6th at the Clifton Heritage National Park, 11 o'clock until 7 o'clock. Bring your children. They have vendors there. You can buy Bahamian things, and you learn about the Bahamas and the history of Clifton Heritage again. Anyway, thank you very much, Trish. Thank you very much, Vernita. Have a wonderful day. This has been Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry, and of course, Aaron Green was with me. Have a wonderful and blessed day.